Welcome to another math session here in Solve It with Sir Jude. Today we are going to discuss about right triangle similarity, and we are going to use the geometric mean in order for us to get the measures or the lengths of the altitude and the legs of a right triangle. So before we proceed with right triangle similarity, let us first have a review with regards to a right triangle. So a right triangle is a triangle with one right angle. So suppose that we have this illustration as our right triangle. So hindi siya kompleto kapag wala siyang small box. Itong small box na to, ang representation nito, the measure is 90 degrees. So next, let us have the parts. So the first one are the legs of our right triangle. So these are the segments forming the right angle. So nasaan nga ba ang legs dito sa ating right triangle na to? So we have there two legs. Okay? So ito yung mga segments na nagpo-form ng right angle. Paano naman natin tatawagin itong side na to? It is the side opposite the 90-degree angle. Okay? So this is what do we call as the hypotenuse of our right triangle. It is the side opposite the right angle, and it is the longest side of our right triangle. Next, we have here the two acute angles. So etong dalawa na to will be acute angles, and they are said to be complementary. So meaning, if we are going to add the measures of the two acute angles, the sum must be 90 degrees. So next. So in a right triangle, if the altitude is drawn from the right angle to the hypotenuse, forming two triangles, then the two triangles are similar to each other and to the original triangle. So meaning, so if we will be having a right triangle here, ABC for example, with a right angle at angle B, and then if we are going to draw the altitude to the hypotenuse, so ayan. So this will be the altitude. Take note that when we talk about altitude, it is a line segment that is perpendicular to a side of a triangle. So in our case, kailangan daw natin mag-drawing ng altitude to the hypotenuse. So there. So we have segment BD to be our altitude. So after natin mag-drawing ng altitude, which is in our case segment BD, we can form three similar triangles. The first one, we have the biggest triangle, triangle ABC or the green triangle. Similar siya kay triangle ADB, the smallest triangle, and then triangle BDC, which is our bigger triangle. So, paano nga ba naging similar ang ating mga triangles? So, let us have the proof. So, given triangle ABC is right at angle B, so it is as shown, we have segment BD is the altitude to the hypotenuse. Next, we need to prove that the three triangles formed are similar. So, we all know that angle ABC, angle BDC, and angle ABD are right angles. So, ang i-prove muna natin will be the green triangle or the biggest triangle, and then the red triangle or the bigger triangle. So, let us prove that the two triangles are similar. So, can you still remember ano yung mga theorems na ginamit natin? So, tingnan natin kung ano yung applicable. So, the first thing that we should do is to look for angles and proportional sides. Since wala tayo ritong sides na given, let us look for congruent angles. So, we all know that angle ABC and angle BDC are congruent. Bakit sila congruent? Because all right angles are congruent. Kung right angle ito, it measures 90 degrees. Same with angle BDC. So, therefore, they are congruent. And then after that, if you can see in the two triangles, there is a common angle. So, yung common angle natin will be angle C. So, therefore, we can say that angle ACB is congruent to angle BCD by reflexive property. Next, so therefore, we can say that triangle ABC is similar to triangle BDC because of the AA similarity theorem. So, na-prove na natin yung dalawang triangles ay congruent. So, let us now proceed with the other one. So, ang i-prove naman natin ay si biggest triangle and the smallest triangle. Ayan. So, finiflip natin yung mga triangle so that makikita natin kung talagang ano yung mga sides or angles ang similar. So, ayan, tinake note muna natin na si triangle ABC is similar to triangle BDC because of AA similarity theorem. Na-prove na natin to kanina. So again, let us look for congruent angles. So if you can see, we have there two right angles. We have angle ABC and angle ADB. Since they are both right angles, we can say that they are congruent because of all right angles are congruent. This is actually the right angle theorem. And then after that, tingin ulit tayo sa figure kung meron bang common angle. That's it. We have angle A is congruent to angle A, or angle BAC in the biggest triangle or yellow triangle is congruent to angle DAB of the smaller triangle. So this is by reflexive property. If you can see in our figures, we can already say that the two triangles are similar. So we have triangle ABC is similar to triangle ADB because of the AA similarity theorem. So na-prove na natin sa triangle ABC, etong bigger triangle ay similar sa dalawang triangle na nabuo upon drawing our altitude. So since both of the two statements, ayan, etong statement natin kanina at statement ngayon are similar to triangle ABC, so therefore we can say that triangle ADB, this smallest triangle, at yung triangle natin kanina which is the red triangle, triangle BDC, are similar because of the transitive property. So therefore, we have already proven that the three triangles are similar. Let us now go to the special property of right triangles. So the first one, in a right triangle, if the altitude is drawn from the right angle to the hypotenuse, katulad nung ginawa natin kanina, then the measure of the altitude is the geometric mean between the two segments made in the hypotenuse. So let us have another figure. So take note na pwede rin nating pangalanan yung mga sides using a cursive small letter. Ito, we have small letter A, B, and C, aside from naming capital letters in the vertices. So let us now have, okay, so this will be our altitude. We have altitude X. And if you can see, nakabuo tayo ng mga segments upon drawing the altitude. We have segment Y, yung malapit kay A, and then segment Z, yung malapit kay B. So in order for us to get the measure of the altitude, or X in our case, we will just need your geometric mean. Paano ba yung geometric mean? So that will be the altitude X is equal to the square root of the product nung dalawang nabuong new segment. So that will be segment Y and then segment Z. So therefore, we can say that the measure of X is just equal to the square root of Y times Z. Bakit ba naging ganon? So, paano ba natin makukuha si X is equal to the square root of Y times Z? So, ang gagawin natin is to consider this triangle, the green triangle, and the blue triangle. So, i-flip natin yung dalawang triangles, or ayusin natin, i-rotate natin, i-flip, so that maging magkapareha sila. Yan. So, tanggalin natin yung B at saka A since hindi naman sila kailangan na sides. So, mag-focus tayo dito. So, out of these figures, paano tayo makakakuha ng X is equal to the square root of Y times Z? So, remember that these two triangles are similar. So, na-prove na natin sila kanina. So, let us have the proportional sides. So, kung maaalala mo, if the figures are similar, then the sides are proportional. So, let us now form a proportion out of the sides. So, the first ratio that we are going to use will be X and Y. So, that will be X over Y is equal to Z over X. So remember, we need to get the value of X, or the measure of X. Then we will be using the cross multiplication. So X times X is equal to Y times Z. So X times X, that will be X squared, is equal to Y times Z. In order for us to get the value of X, we just need to extract the square roots of both sides of the equation. So the result will now be X is equal to the positive and negative square root of YZ. The negative value will be extraneous. Since we are speaking of lengths, kailangan lang natin si positive value. That is why we have X is equal to square root of Y times Z. So this is based on the special property of our right triangles. So let us have some examples. So paano natin kukuhain yung measure ni altitude, which is X, if we are given with the two segments Y and Z as 4 and 16? So we will be using the property, the measure of the altitude is the geometric mean between the two segments made in the hypotenuse, or simply, x is equal to the square root of y times z. Now, let us substitute. The measure of y is 4, and the measure of z is 16. So upon substitution, that will be x is equal to square root of 4 times 16. 4 times 16 is 64. And then, the square root of 64 is 8. So therefore, the value of x, or the length of our altitude, is 8 units. So let us now go to another example. Ayan. So medyo tricky ito. So we have segment y that measures 5, and the whole segment, or the hypotenuse, measures 25. So take note na para makuha natin yung measure ni altitude, we will be getting the geometric mean of the smaller segments na na-form. So ang gagawin natin, paano natin kukuhain si z? Take note that this segment, or part of the segment, is 5 and the whole segment is 25. So that will be subtracting. So 25 minus 5, that will be 20. So take note na kapag inad natin yung buo, kailangan 25. So 5 plus 20, that will be 25. So after that, we can now get the value of our x, or the measure of the altitude. So we will be using x is equal to the square root of the product of the two smaller segments y and z. So substitute natin. So we have x is equal to square root of 5 times 20. 5 times 20 is 100. Then, getting the square root, or the positive value of the square root, that will be 10 units. So therefore, the altitude measures 10 units. So meron pang isang special property yung ating right triangle. That is now referring to the measure of the legs. Each leg is the geometric mean between the hypotenuse, so we need the length of the hypotenuse, and the segment of the hypotenuse adjacent to the leg. Okay? So let us have again our triangle. So we have the sides A, B, and C as presented. Let us now have our altitude, which is x. So next, nakabuo ulit tayo dito, or naka-form tayo dito ng dalawang segments. So let us name them y and z. So to get the value of B, which is the leg of our bigger right triangle, ang gagawin lang natin will be to get the measure of the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is C, and then multiply it to the segment adjacent. Okay? Adjacent to the leg. Yung katabi, yung malapit sa kanya. So that will be, is it y or z? So mas malapit si z, so therefore, that will be times z. So therefore, in order for us to get the value of B, we just need to get the square root of the hypotenuse, which is C, times the segment na mas malapit sa kanya, which is C. Okay? So same thing with the leg A. So ang gagamitin naman natin will be, again, the measure of the hypotenuse, which is C, times yung segment na mas malapit sa kanya. Is it Y or Z? So obviously, mas malapit si Y. So that will be times Y. The two formulas in getting the measure of each leg of this right triangle can be proven using proportions in the sides of similar triangles. Katulad nung ginawa natin kanina when we are to look for the measure of the altitude. Now, let us have an example. So, in this figure, we are given with the length of y, which is equal to 9, and the length of c, which is 27. So, we need to find the length of the legs of the right triangle, so the bigger right triangle, which are represented by A and B. So, we need to look for the length of the hypotenuse, kasi according to the special property, each leg is the geometric mean between the hypotenuse, okay? And we are already given with the segments made by the altitude. So, to get the measure of our hypotenuse, we just need to add y and z. So, 9 plus 27, that will be equal to 36. And then, let us now get the value of A. How are we going to get the value of A? A is just equal to the square root of the hypotenuse, which is C, times the segment na mas malapit sa kanya, which is y. And then, let us now substitute the given lengths. So that will be A is equal to the square root of 36 times 9. So there is another way para hindi na tayo mag-multiply ng larger numbers. Pwede natin silang pag-hiwalayin. So this is according to the product rule of radicals. So square root of 36 times square root of 9. We all know that square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of 9 is 3. That is why we have 6 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18 units. So therefore, the value of our A is 18 units. Next, after getting the value of A or leg A, let us now proceed to the other leg, which is B. Paano naman kuhain si B? So B is just equal to the square root of the hypotenuse, which is C, times the segment na mas malapit kay B, yung hinahanap natin, which is Z. So upon substitution, that will just be B is equal to the square root of 36 times 27. Now, let us apply the product rule of radicals. Paghiwalayin natin sila. So we have B is equal to square root of 36 times square root of 27. We all know that the square root of 36 is 6. But how about square root of 27? So si square root of 27, pwede siyang i-factor out as 9 times 3. And 9 is a perfect square. Square root of 9 is 3. So therefore, its simplest form will be 3 square root of 3. Remember na since 3 here, yung isang factor ni 27 is not a perfect square, it will remain inside the radical symbol. Then, we can rewrite this as 6 times 3 square root of 3. Then multiply kung ano yung mga numbers sa labas. 6 times 3, that will be 18. So the answer will be 18 square root of 3 units. So there, nakuha na natin yung mga measure ng legs ng ating right triangle. Let us have another example wherein we need to find for the lengths of the missing variables. So the first one, let us find for the value of Z. So bago natin kuhain yung length ni Z, let us represent Y, which is equal to 4, and for 12, let us use X so that we can easily represent the formula. So if you can remember, the altitude X can be solved using the square root of the segments formed after drawing the altitude. Or it is equal to, X is equal to the square root of Y times Z. And then let us substitute our given lengths. So the length of X is 12 and the length of Y is 4. So that will now be 12 is equal to the square root of 4Z. And then after that, we need to eliminate our square root or radical. So para makuha yon, we need to raise both sides of the equation by 2. So 12 squared is 144. And then the square root of 4z squared is just simply 4z. May kakancel natin si radical symbol at yung exponent na 2. And then we only need the value of c, so therefore we need to divide both sides by 4. Then 144 divided by 4 is 36. So therefore, the value of C or the length of C is 36 units. So for this example, in finding the value of C, ang ginamit natin is the formula in getting the length of the altitude. Okay? So next, let us get the value of C. Ayan, si C, si hypotenuse. Madali natin makukuha si hypotenuse since Y is already given as well as C. So we just need to add the lengths of both segments. So that will just be 4 plus 36, which is equal to 40 units. So therefore, C is equal to 40. Since nakuha na natin yung length ni hypotenuse, makukuha na rin natin or madali na nating makukuha yung measure ng mga legs. Let us now find the value of A. Paano natin kukuhain yung value ni A? So that will be getting the geometric mean of the hypotenuse, which is C, and then yung segment na mas malapit sa kanya, is it Y or Z? So mas malapit sa kanya si Y, so we will be using that. So in formula, that will just be A, or the measure of the leg, is equal to the square root of Y times C. So again, si Y ay yung malapit na segment sa kanya after drawing the altitude, times the value of C, which is our hypotenuse. So upon substitution, that will just be A is equal to square root of 4 times 4t. So paghiwalayin natin sila, so that will now be square root of 4 times square root of 4t. Square root of 4 is 2, but how about the square root of 4t? If we are going to get the simplest form, that will just be square root of 4 times 10. The factors of 4t. Square root of 4 is 2, so therefore the simplest form will be 2 square root of 10. Multiplying 2 times 2 square root of 10, that will give us 4 square root of 10 units. So therefore, the value of A is 4 square root of 10. So same process will be applied when we are getting the measure of the other leg, which is B. So ganun din. We need to get the geometric mean of the hypotenuse And kung ano man yung segment na mas malapit sa kanya is in Y or Z. So this time we will be using Z. So in formula, that will just be B is equal to the square root of C times C. Okay? So upon substitution, that will be square root of 36 times 40. Paghiwalayin ulit. So square root of 36 is 6. So again, the square root of 40, the simplest form is 2 square root of 10. So let us now multiply. So 6 times 2 square root of 10 will just be 12 square root of 10 units. So therefore, the length of B is simply 12 square root of 10 units. So that will be all for right triangle similarity and especially getting the altitude and the legs using the geometric mean. So if you've learned something for today in this video lesson, please do not forget to like this video, share this video to others for us to help, and if you are new to our YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more video lessons. So this is Sir Jude. Good day!